Good evening, everyone. My name is Orijita Sanyal, and I welcome you to today's session as part of the Discovery series brought to you by Education USA India. As part of our pre-session housekeeping protocol, I would request all our attendees on Zoom to disable video to ensure better internet bandwidth and to use a headset for better sound quality and clarity. Please post your questions in the Q&A or chat section. This session is also being live streamed on the Education USA India's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter handles. So participants joining us on social media can also post questions in the comments section. Once the presentation ends, we will attempt to take all your questions. And to help me with that, I have my colleagues Janet, Jaydeep, and Aditi helping me from behind the scenes. Participants, where possible, kindly indicate if your question is undergrad or graduate focused. Now, some of you may have interacted with us earlier, but we may have others who are e-meeting us for the first time. So allow me a moment to introduce you all to the work that we do at Education USA. We are a US Department of State supported global network of over 430 international student advising centers in 178 countries. The network promotes US higher education to students around the world. We offer accurate, comprehensive, unbiased, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited higher education institutions in the United States. In India, there are 7 Education USA advising centers. I recommend that you take a screenshot of this current slide that you see, find a center that's closest to you, and get in touch with the Education USA advisor to find out more about our services, including the global framework of your 5 steps to US study that aims to help you with your US university application. Our services also include specialized information sessions on admissions and application process with US university representatives, along with individual annual memberships, where you can work with an Education USA advisor on a one-on-one basis. So simply connect with your nearest Education USA advisor for more information. As part of the Education USA India Discovery Series, essentially what we're trying to do is to bring together a number of subject-focused sessions to help you explore courses, careers, and study opportunities across various fields in the United States. We have had a number of series sessions as part of the Discovery Series, and they are all available on the Education USA India YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter handles. If you know of any of your friends and family who may be interested in joining us for the forthcoming sessions that we have lined up for the rest of the month, do let them know about our initiative. Bringing back our focus to today's session, in an ever-changing, increasingly complex world, it's more important than ever before to be prepared to bring knowledge and skills to solve problems, make sense of the information that we have, to know how to gather information, and then, of course, evaluate evidences to make well-informed decisions. And these are the kind of skills that students develop in science, technology, engineering, and maths, disciplines collectively that are known as STEM. If we want essentially a nation, where our future leaders, neighbors, workers have the ability to understand and solve some of the complex challenges of today and tomorrow, and to meet the demands of the dynamic and evolving workforce, building student skills, content knowledge, and of course, fluency in STEM fields will be extremely essential. So during the course of the next 90 minutes or so, we aim to delve deeper into the choices that you as students could consider across STEM, and more specifically in the United States. So to help us stay focused and to share first-hand insights on this topic, please join me in welcoming my colleagues from 2 US universities. I have with me Emily Pleadwell, International Admission Counselor from Florida Institute of Technology, and Sudha Kumar, Director at the USC Viterbi India office. Emily will cover math and science and engineering, CS, big data, healthcare, liberal arts, and business for high school students who are joining us today. And she'll cover all of this from an undergraduate perspective. Sudha, on the other hand, will be covering engineering and computer science, and the graduate application requirements. On that note then, Sudha and Emily, thank you both so much for joining us this evening. Over to you, Emily, you could take over and start off with the presentation, and then Sudha could take over. Thank you. Jaideep, I would request for you to stop sharing your screen so Sudha could then take over. Or sorry, Emily could take over. Emily, would you try share your
screen? Hi, sorry. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Not
Can you hear me? Not yet. Okay. Screen 2. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Can I see your screen now? Yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for attending with us this morning. I'm very excited to be here with you all. As Sarjita mentioned, I will be covering undergraduate topics. So these would be for current high school students or students currently at university who are looking to transfer to an institution in the United States at the undergraduate level. For any graduate questions, please hold those for my colleague who will be discussing graduate admission and topics afterwards. Arjita touched on these as well. As I said, please hold any graduate questions until towards the end. All right, so first off, I will be covering STEM and touching a little bit on STEAM as well. STEAM, I'm not sure if it's as popular of an acronym in India or elsewhere in the world, but STEAM is the introduction of arts into STEM curriculum. And as we go through the topics, I'll be looking at STEAM versus STEM, careers in the STEM field, STEM specifically in the US, brief introduction to Florida Tech, and question and answer. Okay, so most of you are familiar with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. Arts plays a role in this as well, which gives students an edge when it comes to the job field, which we'll get into a little bit later when we discuss integration of liberal arts into STEM fields. Careers in STEM, these are likely fields that you are familiar with already, would be within engineering, healthcare, business, entertainment, psychology, education, aeronautics, construction, government, and military. Most students, they don't right away think of the entertainment industry, for example, as a STEM career, but as in every large institution in business, there are different types of roles which need to be played, and there is a place for everyone. All right, new and growing areas. So as you're aware, the job market is always changing, and a big topic a big theme of my presentation is going to build around the fact that the majority of positions which you as young professionals will be applying for after you've completed your bachelor's degree don't even exist yet. So with computer science, big data, as technology changes throughout the healthcare industry, as advances are made, those positions to support those innovations and changes are not yet known. So it's important not just to focus on a specific career, because that career itself may have changed within the next 5 to 10 years. So it's also important to not perhaps focus too much on a specific career. If it's, for example, an aspect of computer science, let's say, that is relevant at this time, but it's important to focus on those skills that go into that career that will be applicable down the road as technology changes. current STEM jobs. So approximately 45% of positions which are growing at this time are computer related. And you'll notice that employment in this field, it just keeps growing and growing. There hasn't been a decrease in the number of STEM jobs that have become available since 1990. It's been growing consistently. And with that growth, the industries which are hiring these positions, because it's so valuable and so imperative for these companies to thrive and grow and stay competitive, you'll notice that the salaries for the positions which enable them to grow and thrive come with higher higher salaries typically than, let's say, non-STEM positions. All right, so this is for all of the high school students. This is a little comic that we use to illustrate differences in topics or majors that you're looking at. So for example, the difference between astronomy and astrology. There is a big, big difference. And when you're looking at majors at universities, it's important to make sure you know what program you're looking at. Another example would be, aeronautical science versus aerospace engineering. These things sound similar, but there are very large differences. So when you're looking at applying to an institution and you're looking at their programs of study, in order to make sure that you know what you're getting into, especially if it's an institution that offers direct admission into a specific program, I really encourage everyone to visit what's called the university's catalog. The catalog is where the university will list all of the courses that you will take within a given program of study so that you can see exactly what you're getting into. In this case, for students, it is lots and lots of math. So that's important to know. Coming with that, it's important to prepare adequately for the programs that you're interested in. So if you're interested, for example, in computer science or software engineering, having an interest, let's say in e-gaming, we like to see it in extracurriculars, but it's got to be more than that. We've got to know that, and we being institutions in the US at large, we're going to be wanting to see like a strong interest in physics, in math, in IT, extracurricularly and in the classroom. If you are at a school that offers, let's say, advanced or more difficult coursework in computer science or math, we'll want to see that you've taken the opportunity to pursue those higher levels of those courses and to challenge yourself and see that you are excelling in those courses. All right, why the US and where do international students find fit there? For one, worldwide recognition and preference on US degrees is consistent. The US, typically our degrees do not run into too much difficulty as far as, let's say, conversion to other credentials outside of the United States. Financial fit is important as well when you are deciding on your institution. It's great for you when you're doing that initial research. And there are other sessions which will address this as well, I'm sure. But when you're doing your research for institutions, check out, like I said, that catalog to make sure you know what you're getting into, and check out their pages with their scholarships and grants and need-based aid and their on-campus jobs to make sure that their offers are something that you are comfortable with. You will also want to look at diversity, on-campus life. How are their students? What are their students doing in their free time? Are their students successful outside of the classroom and afterwards? And as I mentioned before, a lot of the jobs you'll have after graduation, they don't exist yet. So how is the university's career services office? What are they doing to prepare you for these positions, which perhaps do not exist yet? All right, piggybacking on that, internships and job opportunities. Internships and co-ops are large selling points for students in the United States. This is something as a student who is choosing to pursue education outside of your home country, this is something you may want to consider when you're choosing the location of your institution of interest. Will they have internship opportunities for you to pursue close to your campus? If those opportunities are not close to your campus, logistically, how will your university support you in setting up either transportation to get there, or if it's over the summer, sponsorship for staying over the summer? And co-ops, as some of you may not know, co-ops are more formal than internships. Co-ops, sometimes you are paid for them, which is great. And in addition, you are sometimes offered credit, academic credit by your institution for the co-op towards your program of study. So it's important to see if your institution of interest offers these opportunities. All right, what is OPT? This is really important for any students who will be seeking F1 visas. Optional practical training. So this allows you to remain in your field after graduation. For STEM fields, this can go even longer. And again, as it's reiterated, the job you will have after graduation may not exist, but that is okay. And flexibility in learning is what we're going to get into next. All right, careers, specifically in engineering. I know there are several interests in software engineering as well. The traditional fields are civil, chemical, electrical, and mechanical. Those are still very popular and very much needed today because at their base, these traditional fields are still needed. They're not a need that is necessarily going to go away. They're fields where their functions may change with the times, but at the heart, the subjects you study in these traditional fields will remain relevant. Newer fields in engineering, which are a bit more diversified and are in many cases mixes of the former traditional fields, are aerospace, biomedical, computer software engineering. Energy engineering is becoming very popular as well. Petroleum in several regions of the world, very popular, and robotics as well, as innovations come in processing goods and in medical services. All right. All right, so let's talk about big data. This is a very big buzzword as far as computer science majors go. And again, for these fields, I really want to stress that being adequately prepared coming into your bachelor's degree is important. So when you're in high school, or if you happen to be at an undergraduate institution currently, and you're considering transferring to a different institution, it's really crucial that you're prepared math-wise and science-wise. And if you are transferring, it's important to ask your prospective institution if they believe any of your current coursework will be transferable towards your new major, if that is important for you. All right, so these majors, a few of them, which are popular, are video game programming, game design, operations, research, analytics, if you want to go into the analytical side of things. Minors that you can add as well. Minors are always great because it gives you more flexibility in the field. So as I mentioned, if you go for a major in game design, but perhaps the programs which you used within your course of study are slowly being phased out and new ones are coming on the scene. It gives you an edge if you have a minor as well. That gives you a larger breadth of specialty, so that when you're approaching these companies, you have more marketable skills and that you can work with colleagues in other fields as well. Okay, so job outlook, continuing with data science. The outlook is very good for those jobs. I will say, when you're considering these jobs, you also need to consider your own soft skills and your own personality. It's very easy to be interested in a program of study, maybe if your parents are encouraging you to be in that program, but an important tool for success in a program is your own interest. It's got to spark interest in you. You've got to wake up being excited about it. So the salary for these positions, you can see they're very high, but you've got to make sure that, you know, it's something you're going to love. So someone who is happy and loves their job, you know, they say they don't really work a day in their life. So that's important to keep in mind as well. Doing something that you are inspired by and what keeps you interested. All right, healthcare. I'll get through these a little quickly here. Healthcare, pre-professional tracks are what you're going to be looking at the undergraduate level. In the United States, it's very typical for example, law even and medical school, you complete a 4-year bachelor's degree first. And for example, you'll have a major such as chemistry or biology or biomedical engineering, and these are pre-medical tracks. So pre-med itself is not a major, it is a track that you pursue through a major such as biology, chemistry, biomedical engineering to go into medical school afterwards. The same applies for pre-law in the United States as well. All right, STEM in the liberal arts, as I mentioned, it's important to have soft skills as well, thinking creatively, problem solving, being a good communicator. You can be a great data analyst, but at the end of the day, when you've analyzed your data, you need to communicate those results. And you're going to need to communicate those results to another team of employees. And so you'll need those skills to effectively communicate that information and maybe frame it in a way that is easy to digest for the team you're talking to. All right, business degrees. Every company you can think of that offers technical positions in STEM, they've also got marketing people. They've got businessmen at the helm of their companies. So it's important to maybe know just a little bit about this as well. You don't have to be a business major, but it's something to keep on your radar. Business as a minor is another great potential option. All right, and I will skip over the Florida Tech information for now. And what I'll do is I'll open it up just for a couple minutes here, 2-3 minutes for undergraduate specific questions before I go ahead and I turn it over to my colleague. Let me stop sharing here.
Thanks, Emily. Let me quickly check if there are questions specific to undergrad options.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Lost my screen here. Okay.
All right. So would you be able to...
Arijita, would you like me to try to start sharing my screen?
Yes, sure.
Up in the meanwhile, while Emily answers questions?
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So for questions in the chat box, I'm not seeing any yet.
Well, Emily, there is a question here, which is, how is the scope and job opportunities for engineering management in the United States? It's not specific to undergrad or grad studies, but would you like to sort of touch upon a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
Yes, just a moment. How is the scope and job opportunities for engineering management in the United States?
Yes, I would say for engineering management, it's really great right now. Because at this time, well, you'll notice happening with engineering firms, I'm sure it's common not just within the United States, but elsewhere as well. You'll have students who graduate in an engineering field, say chemical, mechanical, and then they start as like an engineer one at their company. And as they move up, they're put into management roles, which they necessarily don't have management training yet. So engineering management, that's really going to give you an edge as far as mobility and as far as moving up promotion wise as your career lengthens. So I would say engineering management, it is becoming more popular in the United States. For that in particular, I would suggest having a minor in a relevant field such as chemistry or computer science or biology for whatever engineering field you want to go into for management within that role.
Okay. Emily, I think we'll take one more question. I could take over the grad application bit and talk about STEM courses around that, and then maybe we can come back to a more of a holistic Q&A session, including the two of you. Is that's all right?
Yes, sounds great.
Right. So the next question is, we are receiving a couple of questions asking, how does recruitment take place on campus? Would you like to shed some light on this?
Yes. So I'm sorry, was that one was still for me, correct?
Exactly. So we are basically receiving a couple of questions asking about recruitments and how are they taking place on campus.
So for this fall specifically, recruitment is taking place virtually. So we're encouraging students to seek out opportunities. A lot of universities are posting them for either virtual fairs that they will be attending in your region or virtual sessions to meet counselors via video. Those opportunities, as long as you've made yourself known to a university you're interested in and perhaps ask to be on their mailing list, they're going to share those opportunities with you likely via email. But I also encourage you to check out their websites for their virtual opportunities that they're sharing.
Emily, I think the question was also towards job opportunities, available to students. Would you like to
I'm
add
sorry,
in a couple of points
job
on that?
recruiting, not university recruiting. I apologize. So,
No worries. I mean, it can mean both. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the audio cut out a little bit there.
No, I said, do you want to sort of also mention something around job opportunities?
Yes, so job opportunities right now, we are still marketing those. I know for current students, we are having virtual career fairs as well. And job opportunities, a lot of universities, if you check with their career services offices, they are still happy to meet with students virtually. I will say for current students and recent graduates, the job opportunities that they are encountering right now due to the current global circumstances, it's opening up a larger market for remote work opportunities, which a lot of our students are finding to be great and very flexible and beneficial.
All right. I think we will stop Q&A bit for now. So over, and then please through we will back to a proper Q&A session.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Thank you so much, Sada. Over to you.
Okay. Well, that was a wonderful presentation, Emily. So I hope I can do a good follow-up presentation. Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you, Education USA, for having me. So I'm Sudha Kumar. I am, just a second. Okay. Oh, okay. So let me set up my, just give me 1 second, please. Okay.
So then you could click on slideshow and then maybe click on start from the beginning and then see if
That's what I'm trying to do, but it isn't doing that.
Okay.
Let me try one other thing.
participants joining us this evening. Thank you so much for your patience. We're just trying to fix this problem and we'll be with you shortly.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I should, okay. All right, so now we are in business. Can you see me now or not yet?
I mean, we are seeing your screen. It's just not 100% full screen mode, but otherwise we are able to see your presentation and follow it.
Okay. So let me, what I'm going to try to do is actually exit this presentation and re-enter it, because I think okay. So can you guys see me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you for having me. I'm Sudha Kumar. I'm the director of the USC Viterbi India office, and I am based in Bangalore. So that was an excellent presentation by Emily, and I'm going to have a hard time following up on that presentation. So today what I'm planning to do is, I don't know why my screen is misbehaving. Okay, here we go. So I kind of wanted to give everybody a quick snapshot of what was happening at USC Viterbi, because I know that students have been very worried about how the COVID situation has affected hiring within the US and within American universities. So at USC, this is a snapshot that is very specific to our F1 students and specifically to the School of Engineering. So we had about 4,533 postings. A job posting can actually mean that it could be one position per posting, or it could be maybe about 10 positions per posting. So of these, about 1,808 postings were specific to our MS and PhD students. Our Career Expo, we had one in the fall every year and one in the spring. We had about 202 companies join both in the fall and in the spring. They were very different. In the fall semester of 2019, everything was on campus. It was in person. But once the Spring Expo came around, unfortunately, it was virtual, but it was just as effective. We have things called Trojan Talks. They are information sessions where companies come. Sometimes they're there to recruit, but sometimes they're there just to give information sessions about their companies because they're planning to come and join the career fair and recruit at the next career fair. We had 102 companies come and give these sessions, which was very healthy. When we look at our students who did internships, again, this is very F1 student specific. We had in summer 2019, we had 933 students who did a paid internship from USC Viterbi. Our students typically get about an average of $48 an hour when they are doing these paid internships in all kinds of great companies. In summer of 2020, the number went down slightly because, COVID was definitely an issue, but it did not go down as much as you would expect. We had 768 students who did an internship using CPT. So if you look at the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, what they tell you is that by far, computing is going to be where the jobs are in the future. And I think Emily also pointed to this as well. So it's not that there are no jobs in all the other STEM related areas. There are plenty of jobs over there as well. But in computing, by far, if you're talking about hot jobs, it is computing. So nearly 3 out of the 4 new STEM jobs in the US are going to be in computing. This slide again from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics again shows that anything in the computing area is by far where a lot of the demand for people has not been met. So there are many, many unfilled positions. So that is where the job growth is definitely going to be, but there are positions in engineering, the life and physical sciences, and so on. So within computing, where are the highest paying tech jobs? So this data from Glassdoor tells you that if you're like a software engineer, or you are doing something in data, or you are in a cloud engineer or a data analytics person, that is where the highest paid jobs in the US are. So my advice to you, just like Emily, is that you really must follow your passion. You are going to be in this job for the rest of your life. So if you are really interested in, say, building green buildings, Please don't switch and become a software engineer just because you think that is where the great jobs are. There are positions in all of these fields as long as you are good and you plan your career. You will find a position and you should not worry about it so much. So make sure that you are going to follow your passion and stay the course. So many of you already have an undergraduate degree. So you are pretty much set in what your background is as you get into graduate school. So most engineering schools within the US have, aerospace and mechanical, astronautical, biomedical, chemical, petroleum materials, civil and environmental, computer science, electrical engineering, and industrial and systems. So, these are the kinds of departments that are there across the US in many, many universities. So what we are seeing is, of course, the computer science and the electrical engineering departments are very large as students are attracted because they do know where the jobs are. But there are a significant number of students who are doing mechanical engineering, aerospace. Biomedical engineering is another area that's doing very well. That is where the solutions for the future for many of the medical problems are going to come from, at the intersection of medicine and engineering. Petroleum engineers actually are the highest paid engineers in general. However, petroleum engineering tends to be a little cyclical, but those are great jobs as well. Environmental science and civil engineering. Civil engineering is going through a small change, apart from having the very traditional fields like structural engineering and building sciences and so on. You also have a lot of interaction between engineering and electrical engineering, like sensors and so on, that are getting into bridges. And so you're getting these smart buildings nowadays. Environmental engineering, there's air, water, air pollution, there's water, there's green buildings. All of those are the things of the future. They are problems that every country in the world is facing. When you come to computer science, you have specializations in so many different areas. Software engineers, everybody wants an app, right? So if you're a software developer, there is, bound to be many, many opportunities for you. Computer security is huge. There's an unmet need for computer security specialists. Game development, because of COVID, actually the number of jobs in computer security have actually gone up. In the same way, if you are machine learning or robotics or data science, many opportunities for you. Electrical engineering, the traditional areas in, computer networking, all of those jobs are still there. VLSI, everybody needs chips, because there's so many gadgets coming up. So VLSI, embedded systems, those areas are not going to go away anywhere. Industrial and systems engineering, that is the place where there are many positions open which are at the intersection of engineering and business schools. So you have, on your programs like engineering management, there are programs like operations, research, that are very, very popular, product development, and so on. And these are all STEM positions. So many universities are coming up with applied data science programs. So no matter which virtual you are in, whichever area that you're in, any company, so whether it is health sciences or if it is journalism, communications, public policy or spatial data science, you need someone to make sense of the huge amount of data that's coming out. So even if you have a background in, say, economics or statistics, you can get into the applied data science program. If you have a background in communication and journalism, it's a great opportunity for you to get into a STEM area by getting into something like communication data science. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the social media, there is so much data out there, and someone needs to look at trends, and the way to do it is by looking at data. So they are healthcare again. I think Emily mentioned healthcare as well. It is a booming area right now. It's really hard to find people with the right background in analytics in the healthcare area. So if you are a physics major and you think that you want to switch, in most universities, an undergraduate physics major will have a strong math background. And if you wish, you can apply to programs like astronautical engineering, aerospace and mechanical, biomedical engineering, civil and environmental engineering, electrical engineering. Please note that I did not mention computer science, because it is hard to get into computer science programs nowadays at the graduate level or even at the undergraduate level, just because there's so many applications from students with the right backgrounds. Again, if you have a background in architecture or environmental studies, landscape architecture, you can get into a Master of Construction Management program, which is a STEM area. There is MS in Analytics. There's so many of these analytics programs across the US. You could consider any one of them if you have like a math or statistics background, if you're interested in that. MS in financial engineering, if you're really, really strong in math, if you have a background in physics, math, finance, economics, but you really have to be very strong in math, then you have an opportunity to get into financial engineering. And the growth for a financial engineer who not only has a skill set, but if they also have the people skills, you will go very far and very fast. MS in health systems management engineering, again, if you have a background in welfare, social science, physical therapy, any of the healthcare degrees, you can get into another STEM area as well. But many of you ultimately want to get into computer science, whether you're a mechanical engineer, aerospace, at least, you know, this is what I see all the time. There are many, many students who want to get into computer science. If you do want to get into computer science, just be aware that it's very difficult nowadays to get into computer science programs with a non-CS background. So you could have been taken ECE, maybe you are a mechanical engineer, but to get into computer science, it is more difficult to get in, but there are ways of doing it. At USC, what we've done is we've started a program where if you take some deficiency courses, and it'll take you on to a MS and CS program. Yes, it has a lot more courses that you'll have to take, but at the end of it, you do get a MS and CS degree. Also, many ECE departments, electrical and computer engineering departments, are starting programs in machine learning and data science. So if you have an ECE background, then you don't need to switch to computer science. You can actually find the machine learning and the data science programs in the ECE departments. And if you do that, the kinds of jobs that you're getting are very, very same to what the computer science graduates are getting, just because there's so much pent up need for these specializations. So what do universities look for in an MS application requirement? So when you're applying for graduate programs, whether it's master's or PhD, we are looking for a bachelor's degree in engineering, computer science, math, or hard science, typically. But now with these new programs that we mentioned, we might take in students with other backgrounds like journalism and so on. So all you have to do is go and review the websites of various universities and look at what kind of programs they have. And if you click on that, most of the time you will be able to find out what their requirements are. Most universities strongly prefer the 4-year undergraduate degree, but they are more and more universities are beginning to accept 3 years. At USC, we are still accepting only the 4-year degree. You'll have to pay an application. More and more universities are getting to do online everything, so you don't have to actually mail stuff. Earlier, you used to be mailing your transcripts and so on. That is reducing more and more across the US. The general GRE exam, most engineering universities, they pay close attention to the quant scores, much more so than the verbal score. So average incoming quant score, at least at USC, is about 164. I just want to mention that because of COVID, many universities are beginning to waive the GRE, at least temporarily for fall 21. And they'll take a call on future semesters at a later time. Transcripts, what universities want is they don't need to see your 11th standard marks or your 12th standard marks, even though I know that you must have worked very hard at them. To get into any graduate programs, we are really only interested in your BTech or your undergraduate marks, and we actually want to see semester by semester, course by course, what kind of courses you took and what kind of grades you received. Some universities will accept WES as when they do the conversion of your GPA into a 4.0 GPA, but that is not required for most universities. At USC, we do not require the WES, but you can check with what most universities, the university that you're applying to is requesting. A resume or CV is typically required. Supplemental material. Supplemental material could be your personal statement. It could mean letters of recommendation. It could mean if you're applying to some of the game development programs, perhaps it could mean a portfolio. Whatever is required for an application, the university will let you know very clearly on their website. So what you need to do is spend some time, identify the university that you're applying to, identify the department that you're looking at and the program that you're looking at, and then you will find all the information that they need. International students, in addition, they require English language proficiency. Again, some universities are waiving this requirement temporarily, but USC is not. We still require the TOEFL, which is 90 overall with a minimum of 20 in each section, or we accept the IELTS, which is 6.5. There are some universities that are accepting Duolingo and other, English exams. We are not. So what do application deadlines typically look like? Most universities tend to, for fall 21, they typically accept applications around December of the year. At USC for fall 21, our scholarship deadline is December 15th, and our final deadline is January 15th. My recommendation to all international students is to kind of apply a little early because there are a bunch of hoops that you need to jump through, which domestic students don't. And if there's anything missing, the university will be able to get back to you and you will be able to rectify it and still fall within the scholarship deadline. So many universities have scholarships and funding. Again, they will have that information in their websites. At USC, we don't give a lot of scholarships, but we do have the Dean's Master scholarships, which are about $5,000 to about $20,000, and it's open to everybody. So all you have to do is just apply on time. Okay, so recently I did some very interesting panels on careers. So these panels were hosted by me, but then we had our guests were, there was a very senior professor in each panel. in that particular area. We also had a person who was a very senior person who was from industry. And then we had the person who heads up career services as the third panelist. And they discussed what the particular field was like, what was the future for this particular field, what kind of people are companies looking for, what are the companies that are hiring, what are the salaries in those areas, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in any of these particular areas, you can go to the website mentioned above and you can download the recording. So with that, I've come to the end of my presentation, and that is my contact information. You can feel free and write to me. You can also connect with us on our various social media outlets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sudha. Sudha, I do know that Emily has a similar slide of sorts ready so that she could also sort of present slightly
Shall I
as far
start?
as data tech is concerned. Emily, would you like to take a minute or two and present that before we head on to the question and answer session?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. Thank you so much. All right, let me see. Nope. Okay, so let me see here. One moment, sorry. Okay, well, it's not working, but thank you guys for listening to our presentation so much. I know we really appreciated it, and we're happy to answer questions for you guys coming up here in just a minute. I did just want to introduce you guys for a second to Florida Tech. This happens to be the institution I work for. We are happy to answer questions for you with all aspects of universities. But just a little bit about us. We are a private STEM institution located on the Space Coast in Florida. We've got about 3,500 undergraduate students on campus, and 25% of our student body is international students. And that was really all I had to say about us. We have rolling admissions, so students are free to apply at any time. All right. So I guess, Arjita, I'm good for opening it up to questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Sudha and Emily. I'll head on to the question and answer section now.
Sure.
So that will pose the first question to you. Does USC provide student profile evaluation? What is the eligibility for biomedical engineering?
So we don't individually provide evaluation to students, but in general, for our biomedical engineering department, we see students from all kinds of backgrounds. They could have aerospace, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and they get into biomedical engineering. We are looking for people with, good, strong undergraduate GPA. Even though GRE is not required, if you have taken it, I would recommend that you submit it or show to us that you are really good at, if you've done really well in your undergraduate math classes, highlight that. We will be taking a close look at your transcripts as well, but it's okay for you to highlight that.
So that is a follow-up question to that, which is, can a major in biotechnology opt for biomedical engineering?
So you can apply, but what we found was students with biotechnology background don't have a really strong background in math. So they struggled when they came to USC. So if they can ramp up their math background and apply, they would stand a better chance of getting in.
Okay, all right.
And also the biotechnology program has to be a 4-year program.
Okay, all right. Emily, the next question is for you. How do you decide on an undergrad college, for example, robotics or for game development? Are there any companies who specialize in these areas, Or do you just apply for computer science colleges and then assume all colleges will provide equally good majors, colleges and not company?
So that's a really great.
Yeah, it's a slightly long. Do you want me to repeat the question, Emily?
If you could, I think I've got it, but if you could repeat it once, that would be fantastic.
Right. Absolutely. So the question is, how do you decide on an undergrad college for areas like robotics or game development? Are there companies who specialize in these areas? Or do you just apply for computer science colleges and then assume that all colleges will provide equally good majors and not necessarily the company?
All right, so I will attempt to tackle that one. So for choosing a university or a college, I wouldn't assume that the strengths of the programs are the same at each institution. If you have access to any sort of, for example, rankings list of institutions, you can reference those to see the strengths of their programs as compared to each other. It might be worth seeing on their website what their alumni are doing. How successful are their alumni and their recent graduates? Their placement rates after graduation, students that are in the programs that you're interested in, how many of them are in a job or graduate school in their field within 6 months after graduation. So looking at those are good reference points when choosing a university and looking at the strength of their program. The question that was in there about should you just study computer science or specializations in, I believe it was game development. There are
robotics.
Yes, so game development and robotics, there are companies out there that will hire specifically for these positions. I encourage you, a great tool that we like to use in the United States, there is a website called Indeed. You can go in there and type in the major that you're interested in, for example, and it will pull up job listings from companies who are hiring with people with those credentials. Glassdoor is another website that students and professionals, young professionals use when they're looking to see what companies are hiring for what positions. And also, if you're looking at a university's career services website, they may have a list published already of employers who frequently recruit students from their institutions and in what programs they're recruiting those students from. So that's also a helpful resource. Did that hit about all of the points there?
Yeah.
The question was from Rupali. So Rupali, we hope we were able to respond to your question.
Arijita, can I make a quick addition to that? In the chat section, I put the link to those career panels. The one on game development is really great. At the end of the panel, they actually give you the list of all the companies that hire our game development students. So that may be useful for the student.
All right. Okay. So then the next question is specifically for USC Viterbi, which is how important GRE and TOEFL scores when it comes to USC Viterbi to evaluate the overall profiles of the applicants.
So the question is the TOEFL and the IELTS?
TOEFL and GRE. Oh. How important are these scores for evaluating the overall profile of an applicant?
Okay, so the way we look at TOEFL and IELTS, basically we just want to know that you're able to communicate well with our student community and our faculty community, and it is a cutoff for us. So you do need to meet that. It's a firm cutoff, 90 overall with a minimum of 20 in each section. And that's about it. If your TOEFL scores are very, very bad, then we might take a closer look at other things. We are looking for a good fit. Just as long as we know that you are able to communicate, our threshold is not very high. You are in you are in a engineering school, so theorems you'll be able to manage fine. You don't have to be very, very good in English. When it comes to GRE scores, our focus is more on quant scores than on the verbal score. Of course, we have waived the GRE for temporarily. If you have submitted, if you have taken it, please submit it, because that is something that we do look at. So both of these are things that are required, and we do look at them closely.
All right. Okay. The next question, Sudha and Emily, you could both take turns and respond to it, which is basically a question on what the importance of extracurricular in seeking scholarships.
Yes.
Emily,
So
would you like to?
yeah, sure. So that and as we get into more questions specifically relating to program admission, a theme that you're going to see, unfortunately, is going to be it depends, or it varies by institution, specific, or really with a lot of undergraduate programs within the United States. So extracurricular activities for scholarship consideration, it might not come into play as much as it does with admission decisions. So they're going to be looking at those extracurricular activities to see if you're a good fit for your program. If you're going into game development, are you active in an esports team? Are you the president of that program? Are you, do you thrive in a large social environment? If you're applying to a school with maybe only 900 students, like, will you be comfortable there? So extracurriculars, I would say from my personal experience, they'll come into play more when the admissions office is evaluating your fit for your program of interest in your institution. Probably not quite as much with scholarships. For those, they'd probably be looking at, those year 10 and 12 exam results, your internal transcript, and any supplemental test scores that they require. But I encourage you to check with the admissions office of any admissions or any institutions you're interested in to see what their take on it is. Sudha, do you have any?
So at the graduate level, things changed a little bit. So, at the undergraduate level, you are looking for the more well-rounded student and so on. But when you come to a technical education, right, we are really looking at how well you're prepared academically to get into the graduate program and to do well in those graduate programs. So extracurricular activities, if it means like you've taken courses in Coursera, that kind of stuff, that's different. If you've done research and research papers, that's something that's interesting. But if you're good at basketball, that's true. I mean, that's wonderful, but you may not do so well in the algorithms class. And we really are interested in knowing whether you're going to be good at your algorithms class. So, so we don't really pay attention to all of your extracurricular requirements at the graduate school level.
All right. So we have another question specifically for USC Viterbi, which is how many PhD students on average are offered full tuition scholarships and full financial assistance during their doctoral studies in STEM programs at USC Viterbi?
Yeah, so we aim to fully fund all of our PhD students. So as of now, all of our PhD students are fully funded. Yeah. So in fact, we don't admit if we cannot fund.
Great. All right. So that was a question from Shubhajit. All right. The next question, Emily, is for you. Mm-hmm. What are other STEM options apart from CS in grad for a computer science undergrad student? Actually, sorry, it should be for Sudha as well. Sudha, would you like to take this question, which is, what are the other STEM options that a computer science undergrad student can pursue in the grad level, other than computer science?
Engineering management is a great thing. If you're interested in being technical, but at the same time not ready to fully go into business, engineering management is a great area that you might want to look at. Operations research. So industrial and systems engineering departments are where those STEM programs at the intersection of business and engineering are. If your background is in computer science, not all computer science programs are just software developing and so on. So the game development has a lot of creativity in it as well, apart from a hardcore, needing to understand the architecture of games. So that could be something that you might want to look at. So these are the two that I can recommend, but if you have an engineering background, you can go into biomedical engineering, you can go into civil, all kinds of different places, construction management. Many of them are STEM, but you need to look closely because not all construction management companies, programs across the US are STEM. So look at that closely, but those are some of your options.
Okay. Emily, would you like to add something else?
I think she really covered most of it. I think she did a pretty good job. I think I'm good.
Right. Great. Fine. Emily, the next question is for you. So is Florida Tech open for spring 2021 and offering a GRE waiver?
So at that point, for GRE, for Florida Tech, I work in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. So I would need to pass that question on to my colleague in the graduate office. So if anyone has questions, they're welcome to email, shoot us an email on our website and reach out to our graduate office. They're happy to assist. I will say for classes, at this time, the Florida Tech hasn't made any formal announcements regarding the spring semester. This semester, we are holding classes both on campus and via remote access. So students who perhaps due to health concerns or travel restrictions or, consulate embassy closures leading to visa restrictions could not travel to the United States. They're accessing their classes via remote access from their home country. So we're offering the on-campus lectures. They are all being recorded via video and provided to those students who could not attend campus. And some students within the United States are able to access, they're all able to access those videos as well. So if for some reason, whether it's social distancing efforts within the classroom to keep class size smaller, some students are not always attending those in-person classes and they are still also utilizing those remote access classes. So I believe we're thinking right now the situation for the spring will be very similar, but nothing official has been announced yet.
All right. Emily, another question coming your way, which is what kind of a profile should a high schooler have for entry into biomedical engineering?
Yes, so for entry into biomedical engineering, we're going to be looking for, again, that strong STEM background. We're going to be looking at your school's profile to see what subjects are being offered and to make sure you're taking advantage of those subjects and excelling in them. So for biomedical or for pre-med, anything in that sort of realm, we're going to be wanting to see strong biology marks, strong chemistry marks, strong math marks. And then coming into play for admission, as we discussed a little bit ago, I'm going to be reading about your extracurricular activities. If you're involved in volunteering with the local hospital or health organization for blood donations, anything of that nature. And then if you're applying for an institution which requires an essay and they don't have an assigned topic, some schools may not require the essay, but for me, I always encourage students to use it as an opportunity to tell schools why they're passionate about the program of study that they're applying to. So I would want to see some specific interest or a narrative as to why you're interested in that program.
Thanks very much, Emily. The next question, I don't know really who to pose this to, but are there any scholarships available for theology?
So I can answer that one first. For theology, for my institution in particular, we do not offer theology as a major. However, some institutions may have program-specific scholarships. So I would encourage you, if you have certain institutions in mind, to go to their websites, check their program and their scholarship pages to see if they have anything program-specific. If you have a religious community that you're a part of, it may be worth contacting them as well to see if they offer private scholarships for students.
Yeah, I'm focused on engineering, so I'm not really sure about that. So that's question.
Yeah, I assume so. The next question, Sudha, is for you. Can I pursue Masters in Engineering Management at USC after my undergraduate studies in mechanical engineering?
Yeah.
And the second part of the question is, how are job prospects for engineering management at USC?
Yeah, so there are many job opportunities for students in the engineering management field. In fact, we have an alumni panel coming up. So if the student can connect with me, I can send him the registration information for that. Yeah, we very often see students with mechanical engineering backgrounds who want to get into our engineering management program. So definitely, yes.
Right. Okay. There's a question which says, I want to know more about pharma jobs over there. So it's again kind of open-ended. Sudha, would you like to take it?
What kind of jobs?
Pharma jobs.
Pharma jobs. I don't know. I do know that it is anything in healthcare. I think there are plenty of job openings in the US. USC does have a pharmacy school, but I don't know information about that. But if they want, they can write to me and I can connect them to someone at USC.
All right. Emily, would you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so for pharmacy, that's not a specialization we offer in particular at my institution, but there are institutions I've noticed within the United States, majors such as it's difficult to say, pharmacogenics is becoming more popular in the US. So it's sort of a shortened program for students who typically go from a bachelor's to pharmacy school. It shortens it just a little bit. So it is increasing in popularity in the United States. We are always in need of pharmacists, and pharmacists in the US are paid very well. So I would encourage you to research institutions in the US that are offering pharmacy programs. You will notice some schools, if they're just opening those pharmacy schools recently, they may be offering higher scholarships or trying to incentivize students to enroll in their program. So that's something to look for as well.
Emily, I have another question for you, which is, can I know if there is a possibility in choosing computer science as my major with other subjects like economics or psychology? And is it possible only at a liberal arts college?
So if you were to, if your intended major did not match your academic background, let's say, a pivot like that, it would really depend on the program. It would depend on the program and the school you're applying to. At a liberal arts institution where they're doing a more holistic review and your education itself is more widely spread throughout various disciplines, it's probably more possible there. If you're looking at a school that is specifically a STEM institution, you might not have quite as much luck making that transition. If you did, I would say if you were submitting supplemental test scores, such as SAT or ACT, if the institution requires those, they would probably be looking very critically at your mathematics component. But I think that would be a better transition probably at a liberal arts institution.
All right. The next question, Sudha, is for you. Do all universities consider GRE scores for scholarship?
Um, I'm not sure about all universities, but I think many universities will definitely look at the GRE if it is required. They will also look very closely at your transcripts. I think most of the scholarships are merit-based. So it depends also on the pool of students that we have any given year. I think your academic background, anybody who's done, has a very strong undergraduate academic background, has higher chances of getting scholarships, not just at USC, but all the other universities.
Okay. The next
Oh, and
question.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add, I just received a private message as well, which I think added on to the last question. I'm thinking maybe I didn't answer it quite the way it was intended. So I'll just circle back to it really quick.
Sure.
I received a private message asking if, as a computer science major, if you can take other courses such as economics and psychology. And to that end, yes, absolutely. Again, it will depend where you're going to school. If it's a strictly STEM institution, they may not have psychology, for example. But I know at institutions such as Florida Tech, we do offer a variety of minors which are available, psychology and economics being two of them. Any majors being offered here besides engineering can be taken as a minor. So adding a minor, which is maybe more related to more soft skills or a business skill, as opposed to your primary engineering major, is really valuable in terms to marketing yourself to other companies. So I say, yes, that's absolutely possible.
All right. Emily and Sada, the next question is for both of you, really. So the question is, does USC and Florida Tech allow deferrals, and how does it work?
Emily, go first. I'll follow afterwards.
Yeah. So when we're talking deference, are we talking about, for example, if a student has applied for admission, been accepted, and then due to circumstances, say for example,
I'm assuming the same thing.
Postponing their intake? Yes. So at Florida Tech, we do allow students to change their term. So if a student has applied and due to circumstances they cannot come for the semester they applied for, we do allow students, we do allow them to change their entry term. I believe we can go at any given time out to a year out, and we can go up to 2 years before you have to reapply, if in the interim you have not gained any other academic credentials. So let's say you applied as a freshman for fall of 2021. If you were to instead change your entry term to spring of 2022 or fall of 2022, we would honor that admission and scholarship you were awarded, as long as you did not pursue university elsewhere in the interim, because at that point you would then need to be reconsidered as a transfer student.
Yeah. So at USC, what we normally do is that we don't do something which is a deferral, where everybody is guaranteed a position back in the school, in the program, for the semester that you're deferring. What we do is we update your application, and we will kind of go through a quick evaluation of your application one more time, and then if we find that in the pool of new students that you are standing out, then we will admit you. So there's a small risk in that deferral process, but it's a very, very small risk. Now, because of COVID, what we've done is, since students were in, it was so difficult, visas were hard, everything travel was so difficult. So what we did was we allowed students to defer as much as they wanted, whether it was for the spring of 21 or for fall of 21. We gave them options to defer, and students have been deferring. And they have been undeferring and deferring again, which is what I think many universities are seeing, because students too are very unsure about what their steps have to be. But once the COVID situation goes back to being slightly more normal, we will go back to our previous policy of not allowing deferrals indefinitely.
Sudha and Emily, I just wanted to mention something. It's slightly technical. We're almost sort of at the end of the webinar, just about 3 minutes left, but we still have about 5 or 6 more questions to cover. So if you're all right, if you both agree, we can continue for perhaps another 10 minutes or so, if that's all right with both of you.
Yeah, that's fine, Arjita.
Yeah, that's perfect. No worries.
All right, great. Thank you. So the next question, I know you have covered it in bits and pieces while you were taking us through the presentation, but if you could just sum up the components, for a grad student to become eligible for a good scholarship and how they can present an application that stands out from the rest. Would you like to touch upon a couple of points?
Right. So many of you have already either in your 3rd year of BTech or 4th year, and maybe you're working at present. So there's not much you can do about your GPA anymore. So if you happen to be a 1st year student and you can do something about your GPA, one thing that all universities look at in our application is your GPA. And sometimes Indian students tend to become very confused listening to, some of the things that people talk about where they are looking for very, very well-rounded individual and extracurriculars matter. And all of that is true, but it's more true for undergraduate education, more so than graduate education. So academics do play a very, very important role in your application. And anything that you can do to make that stand out as much as possible would help you. If you are able to do some research, we see that as something that points towards a strong academics. If you are able to improve your grades, that will help. Apart from that, if you can take your GRE and do really well in that, that's another way to show that you are strong in math. Again, they're not looking at least engineering schools are not really looking so much at your verbal scores as your quant scores. So that's another area that you can do. The other place that you can make a difference in your file is your personal statement. Make sure that it's a well-written personal statement. It does not have to be very long. Some universities have limits, word limits. Some universities don't. But basically what you can do in the personal statement is tell the university why you're really interested in coming to that particular university. To do this, you cannot just sit down and write a personal statement in a few hours. You will have to go into the website. You need to look at the programs. You need to look at the faculty. You need to look at the research. And then the second part of your personal statement is, why do you think that you have a good fit for the university? What is it in your background that makes you a good fit, right? So these two components, you can spend a lot of time writing and rewriting your personal statement. And it doesn't have to be wonderful English. At engineering schools, we are not looking for that. But it needs to be well written. It needs to not have any spelling mistakes. And most importantly, I don't want to see an application that says that you're really interested in applying to Florida Tech, and that you've been dying to get into Florida Tech, but you're actually addressing the application to USA. You'd be surprised at how often we see that, and it's extremely off-putting for the admissions team because students do tend to cut and paste. So I would encourage you not to do that. Letters of recommendation, again, if there is a person who really knows you, a faculty member who's able to talk about your academic capabilities, definitely try to get strong letters of recommendation from them. At USC, we prefer the academic letters than your work letters of recommendation if you've done like an internship or something. The title of that person is not so important. It doesn't have to be the vice chancellor or the head of the department. It can be a professor. a lecturer who knows your academic strength and is able to say things like, you know, he was always asking great questions. She submitted this report that was amazing and really stood out. He was at the top of the class, and so on and so forth. So your letters of recommendation is the other place where you can differentiate yourself as well.
All right, so I have one more question for you, and this is from someone on Facebook who says, I'm currently pursuing MSc in finance. Can I pursue my further studies at USC with MBA in finance? And if so, what will be an ideal or eligible candidate's profile?
So I don't have much information about our MBA programs, but what I do know is the Marshall School of Business is a very highly ranked business school. They do need work experience. So I don't know if you have work experience. They do accept the GMAT. So if you wish, you can write to me, sudha.kumar@usc.edu, and I can connect you to someone from our Marshall School, or you can reach out to them directly.
Okay, all right. Sudha and Emily, perhaps you could just leave your email IDs in the chat chat box as well, just so we can pick it up as well from there. All right, I think perhaps the last one or two questions. This is for you, Emily, which is for getting into mathematics major, other than doing well in school, what should a prospective undergrad do?
So other than doing well in school, again, I would really highlight whether it's in your extracurricular activities in your essay, what makes you passionate about mathematics. As we talked about concerning careers, it's important that you choose something that you're passionate about, not just something based on its salary. The same goes for your bachelor's program. If you're going to be, you know, a hardworking student doing homework at 2 in the morning, it's important that you like what you're doing. So we'll want to see maybe in your essay your ambitions regarding what you're going to do with your math degree. So showing us your interest in your program in addition to your academic prowess in mathematics, extracurriculars, if you're on the Science Olympiad team or the math team, those are things we would like to see. We would also like to see that you are a detail-oriented, analytical type of person probably as well.
Okay. And the last question for the evening, Sudha, is for you. So I have a minors in CS and a ECE majors. Will it be a disadvantage applying for MS in CS?
As long as you've taken, they have to look at your transcripts, but it sounds like if you have an undergraduate, a minor in CS, you probably have many of the required courses. So it should be okay for you to apply. The other thing I would recommend, if you are not able to verify if you have the right background in the undergraduate coursework, you can apply to 2 different programs with 1 application fee. So you could pick 2 programs, maybe one in the ECE department and again one in the computer science department, and apply to both just to be on the safe side.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we have covered pretty much all the questions that students have posted for us. Thank you so much, Emily and Sudha, for an extremely engaging session and for taking time out to contribute at the Education USA India Discovery Series. Would you have any concluding remarks?
Yeah, I can start again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for joining us this evening for you or in the morning, wherever you are. I would encourage everyone, no matter where you're looking to go to school or further your education, really look at their websites, make sure that you've learned a lot about them before you start that application, and make sure you see what their alumni are doing and where they're going, and if those match your ambitions as well. And we wish you all the best of luck. Thank you so much, and thank you, Arjita, for having us.
Thank you. So that.
Well, you know, I think Emily pretty much said it all. I think do your research, There are so many universities out there in the US, and you have a great resource. EducationUSA offices in India are really, really a great resource for all of you. Staff there are wonderful, so reach out to them and pick a university, a few universities. Don't apply to just one or two, apply to at least 6 universities, up to 10. Some of them have to be your reach universities, really universities that you'd love to get into, but you're not sure you will. Some universities that are a good fit for you, and then some safe universities. So you need to have a blend of all the 3 types of universities in your application. Apply early, proofread, and make sure that you submit your applications early. And just in terms of jobs, and all of you are worried about how the COVID situation is and how the job market is. What we see cyclically over the years is that anytime that there is a downturn in the economy, that is the time that we see the most number of applications, because that is the time when students decide to actually go to graduate school and finish their studies. And a lot of times by the time they finish their studies, the companies have rebounded and they are hiring again. So don't postpone your graduate studies because, once you get into a full-time career, it's really difficult to go back and become a student all over again. So anyway, that's my advice. So please do mask up and stay safe.
Great. That was really very well summed up. Thank you so much, Emily and Sudha. And to our attendees, for your very keen interest, thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you missed a part of the session or you would like to revisit a specific section, you will still be able to access a video recording of this session on our EducationUSA India YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter handles. The next session as part of the Discovery series is on October 20th, and that will be led by my colleagues from EducationUSA Ahmedabad on how a major in education can help build a successful career. So do join in if you're interested, or recommend it to someone who may find it useful. Before signing off, I would also like to take a moment and thank my wonderful colleagues from the EducationUSA India Network for their very kind support and initiative in helping us put together this entire series. And finally, to our participants, we wish you all the very best. And thank you so much for being a part of our initiative that's helping us bring together studying in the United States closer to you than ever before. Thank you and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you once again to Emily and Sudha.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.